Evolution.org Hardcore 2.0 is coming your way. This is episode 213. Today, we're going to talk about a discussion about what makes a top bodybuilder today by Euro Pharma. So, this is going to be a really good one. We're going to go over what makes a top bodybuilder from a mental perspective. We're going to go over training and diet you need to do, non bodybuilding things you need to be willing to do, how you can mimic these habits, and Euro Pharma steroids that you need to use, and why Euro Pharma is the first choice of many pro bodybuilders out there. We have a special guest on joining Mobster and I today, Madcap71. You all requested him to come back. He is not only a professional bodybuilder, been bodybuilding competitions, he is also a wrestler. He's been WWE wrestler, so he knows what it takes to compete. He knows what it's like to be under pressure. So we're going to pick his brain on this one, and he's going to bring a lot of his knowledge. First, let me remind everyone, we are on Apple, we are on Spotify. We are on many different platforms out there. You can find us on many now these days. Smash the like button, comment, like, subscribe, all that stuff that helps us get the algorithms. So with that, thank you very much, Madcap, for joining us again. And we're really excited about this one. You bring a lot of knowledge to the podcast. So thank you for coming on.
No worries. Thank you for having me, gents. So I'm just make a quick correction. I'm not a pro bodybuilder, not yet.
Yep, you're getting
Only
there
one day.
though. So to
I'm
us, you're
gonna.
definitely you're an I'll
But
put it this way. You're an
I compete.
experienced you're an experienced competitor.
Yes.
So yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to sell myself.
Yep. Can we
I
sell
guess
you though as
too
a
much.
can we sell you as a professional wrestler then at least?
Professional
Yes,
wrestler. Yeah,
Yep.
sure.
I've been a pro
Professional
wrestler for 10
athlete.
years.
Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah.
11 years. So you can tell many people about that and about the WWE and that sort of stuff because that all of that did happen. So, but yeah, how's it going, guys? It's good to be back. I'm very blessed to be able to speak to you guys again about I guess our favorite sport, pastime,
Yes,
hobby, whatever you want to
yes.
call it, the Iron Game. We all love it, so it's great to be able to talk to you guys
I
about that and
think
my experiences with it.
Madcap's going to, yeah, I'm going to think you're going to bring the professional athlete, and that includes, as we talked about in the last show with you, Madcap, the traveling, the food when you get there, and being a professional in front of an audience. And that those things are the same for a top professional bodybuilder as they are for you as a paid professional athlete. So
Yep,
more
100%.
perhaps you and I have talked about in a previous show me doing expo work, and there's an expectation. And even when we've talked in the past about a monster, aka Marco Louis, was a professional and doing exhibition work and doing videos. And this is the things that everybody thinks is training and nutrition, which we're going to touch upon. But there are elements to being a professional of any sport or activity that the amateurs don't always consider, and this can be quite interesting. So there's going to be the genetic stuff, there's going to be training, there's going to be food. We're going to do all of that, even if we only do it briefly, but also the actual elements of being a professional person representing a sport that specifically, obviously, is the focus of today as a bodybuilder. So what an insight for listeners into what being a pro and specifically a pro bodybuilder is all about.
Yep. So let's get right into it. So let me start with you, Madcap. The main topic of this, what makes a top bodybuilder from a mental perspective? I can't imagine the amount of pressure you have to be on, not just to go on stage in front of people. Your heart rate's got to be racing like crazy. The wrestling you do to come out there and the pressure. And what's the mental perspective? How do you bring that to the table?
Um, I think for me, especially in the bodybuilding context, is you only have one shot at this, and you have to get it right, and you have to be as prepared as you can to give it all, your all on stage. Um, because you don't want to get to the point where you're on stage, you go through the prep, you make it to on stage, and you get there and you think, oh, I could have done better than this. I could have, I could have, if I didn't have that bagel, or if I
Yeah.
didn't jump off the treadmill 5 minutes early because I was tired, or if I didn't, you know, not do the stepper today because I was tired, or I didn't push out that last rep because I was worried about getting injured or something like that. You got to give it your all in the prep. That's where
Yeah.
the hard work is. Um, from the very beginning, you have to treat that prep from the day it starts to the day that ends as the most important, paramount thing in your training. I wouldn't say so
Yes.
much in your life because that's a bit extreme, unless of course you're a professional. then that is your life because that's your job. But
Yes.
you don't want to neglect things that are important if you're not a professional, because that can affect your mental health, can affect your stress, and that all plays part on what it does to the body, at least for the end product. Um, a stressed body doesn't work well. A stressed body holds cortisol, holds water, doesn't look right. So
Yes.
you just got to make sure
Yes.
everything is on point for the whole prep, whether it's a short 12-week prep or whether it's a 20-week prep. Day one to the very end has to be
Let me ask
spot
you
on.
why you brought that up. How do you manage the stress? Because it is a stressful time going into a show. How does a how does a top bodybuilder manage that stress? Is there something you do to unwind? Like I like to go
Mm,
fishing. When I go fishing, like
yes.
literally I think about nothing. It's just like flight or fight. I'm just focusing on that. And it's like so refreshing for 4 or 5 hours just to get away from things.
Mm.
Some people like to go on vacations just to unwind that way. What is your secret to that?
For me, it's having something outside of bodybuilding that you can
Yes.
divert your attention to that isn't going to affect your prep, that isn't going to derail you, but it's something you can put your mind to for a short period of time. For me, luckily, I have wrestling for that, so I can focus on wrestling for a little bit. I can wrestle up to a point. Obviously, when gets too close to shows, it's not best for me to do that. But I can do that. I can focus my energy on that. And I think the added bonus of that is I look better as a wrestler when I'm a bodybuilder. So that's that added thing. I also do things like, and I think this is actually really important as well, not just for my own stress, but for the people around me, is to do something for someone or your family that you care about that's going to make
Yeah.
them happy. I always of opinion, and I wrote this down in my training notes. Is every week do three things for your wife.
Mm.
Just three could be anything. Could be she had a bad day at work. Go buy her something nice, some flowers, some cookies, whatever she wants. Take her out for a meal. You might not be able to enjoy the meal because you're on prep, but take her out for the meal because she's not the one who's doing the show. She's not the one who's doing the prep. She's not the one who should be
Yes.
suffering.
Yes.
So, and I think that for me relieves a little bit of pressure for me because I know that whilst I'm suffering, and the people around me aren't suffering. Um, Things like and getting a good night's sleep. I know it's very difficult too when you're in prep, but
Yes.
there are supplements that can help that.
Yeah.
Things like ashwagandha, magnesium glycinate. I can't pronounce it.
Glyphosate, I
Glycinate.
think. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, that one.
I
But
think.
things like that can help you send you to sleep, have a good night's sleep. That means you're less stressed. I know towards the back end of prep, you do wake up in the morning and you're up and you're alert straight away because the cortisol dump. But stress wise, those things I think are paramount for me. If you make it
Something's.
life and death,
Yeah.
it's not going to
Sorry,
end
I'm
well.
just thinking of something that I've seen actually professional bodybuilders do, and this includes backstage. And you might have even done this when you've been traveling to the wrestling event, Madcap. And something else I've also seen this, which was a Wales Italy rugby international friendly match. And when I was outside the stadium as the coach with the Welsh lads turning up for the match, pulled in, and every single one of them had headphones on, which was not something they'd have done 15 or 20 years ago. Top
Yeah,
professional bodybuilders you'll see backstage wearing headphones. When
yeah,
Madcap's perhaps traveling to Italy, as you did recently, you're either going to read a book or watch a movie or take headphones, and you will sit there. And one of the ways you can switch off from the obsessive behavior that we sometimes, obsessive, even attention to detail that's required for being a pro, is you need something else. Now, it can be reading, be watching a movie, can be, as Madcap suggests, treating your wife to something to eat, but you need one thing that works for you, and top pros would have found this, that helps them switch off. And as I said, what I've seen recently with the pro bodybuilders backstage and with these top rugby players was headphones. They've not all got it's not motivational speeches. It's not whatever. It could be classical music. It could be a game they play on PlayStation, the theme tune. and whatever else. And it just enables them, first off, they don't have to listen to the fucking other side's fans screaming at them they're wankers, which is a bit of fun. They're not, if you were backstage at an event, you're not listening to the other pros talking about how great they look and how you look like shit or whatever. You're just switching off your brain for 5 minutes. And as Madcap suggests, and Steve was inferring earlier on, you need to be able to do that, because otherwise, and I've done this, you are stressing about the upcoming event. One of my little tricks, pre-event, I'd go to the hotel room and I would lay on the floor with my feet on the bed and put a towel over my face and just fuck the journey, fuck getting there, fuck booking in, just lay on the floor with this towel over my face for 20 minutes or half an hour. Not trying to go to sleep, but just trying to reduce all the input, all the thoughts, everything else, calm the fuck down. And as Madcap said, whether it's for a competition, I'd actually argue, Madcap, you're getting ready all fucking year. Never mind 16 or 20-week prep. You have trained for 12 months, longer, perhaps, especially if it's your first competition. But even if it's from the last year's competition to this year's competition, it's 12 months. So just focusing on that thing can be all-consuming. You do need something else to help you switch off. Moving on a little bit.
Yeah, let's move on. Yeah, we could spend a whole show on that.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, let's get to training and diet you need to do.
Yes,
let me bring
and
in
a little
Madcap.
bit of genetics as well, Steve. A little bit of the genetics. I'll just expand very quickly on the genetics, and let's bring Madcap back in for a little bit about the diet.
Definitely, because if your training and diet isn't where it needs to be, you are screwed. So, top bodybuilder Madcap, training and diet secrets and tips.
Talk about what you've had to do to prep the competition, and I'll briefly talk about genetics.
Well, I think so. First thing I'll say is I'm coached. I think it's really important for people to either have a coach going into a show and in fact in the run up before the prep, even in your off season, and then your prep for the show, or just someone who knows what they're doing, has competed, can keep an eye on what you're doing, and give an objective second eye or second pair of eyes on your physique, your training, your nutrition. But following what my coach set for me week to week, there's many times in my last year where I've looked at my coach sent me as a terms of a diet plan. I thought, I don't agree with this, but I do it. I follow it to the T, because he's far more experienced than I am in this game. He's a pro bodybuilder, and he knows what he's doing, and it worked. Everything he said and that I did worked. You know, when I started the prep at the very beginning of the year on what for me is a high amount of calories, 4,000 calories. And I looked at it thinking, I put on weight at this, this amount of food, but trust the process. I've done it for a reason, and we brought it all the way back down. I think we ended up around about 2,800 on a training day, maybe 2,300, 2,200 on a rest day. But we got there in the end, and it's just listening to what I've been told and what I need to eat, and just following that to the T. Follow the instructions of what you've been set, and then outside of that is making sure you're not in a position where you're going to deviate. So, unfortunately, if that means there's social events, you've either got to cancel them or you've got to take your food with you. And I spent a lot of my time taking food with me for things, because I didn't want to miss, I didn't want to fall off. I am from a Caribbean background, and we love our food. We love our very tasty, carb-rich, fatty food, but I couldn't have any of it. Went to family gatherings and where there was catering and that sort of thing, and I'm going up to my car to get my prep bag and to eat my chicken and rice, or chicken and spinach, or cod and spinach, or whatever it was that I had to eat that day. Slipping out and eating that in the car on my own.
Does your family give you shit for that? Because the last time I went to a family dinner like that, a family in from out of town, and one of my uncles brought a cake. He went and got a cake, and I didn't even eat it. And he kind of made fun of me at the table. He's like, "Oh, Steve, are you on a diet? Ha 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 ha!" Like, does that ever happen? And how do you deal with that? Do you just laugh at it and just ignore it? Or do you just tell them to decide, hey, bro, listen, I'm preparing for a contest. I've been working really hard at this. Please, in the future, I would appreciate, like, what's your approach to that? Because a lot of people out there are going to deal with that, especially coming into Thanksgiving and the holidays.
I was just
Yeah, I
thinking, Steve,
think
you can't say shut the fuck up, you fat son of a bitch. That's not gonna be appropriate.
you sometimes you wish you could, but no. I think for
Yeah,
my
no.
family, I'm quite lucky in that my family are very supportive. Whilst they don't understand what I'm doing,
Mm,
they understand why I'm doing it. So if I say to them, look, I tell them when I'm on prep, I tell them I'm prep for the show. This is the show date, and this means in terms of I can't have Sunday dinner with you guys. If I do come for Sunday dinner, I'm bringing my own food.
yeah.
Um, I can't deviate at all from the plan. And if I come round, I might come round and just bring my meat, and I'll have some rice and some veg or something because
Yeah.
that's allowed. But just bear in mind, I'm going to get the scales out and I'm going to weigh how much rice I'm putting onto my plate. So I need to know just things like that to give them a heads up and stuff.
Madcap,
And
isn't
that's
it
my immediate family.
strange in the UK culture, and for that matter, the West Indian Jamaican culture, how if you was a cricket player or if you was a footballer, people probably understand it better than, ironically, trying to be a top bodybuilder is almost something that people can't quite get their heads around, which is bizarre. If you was getting 100 grand
Yeah,
a week
100%.
as a soccer player, they go, "Oh, listen, we want you to play really well this Saturday. Well, I've got to have this plain chicken and I've got to have this plain rice. Oh, yeah, no problem, because we want to see
Yeah,
you fucking win the game on Saturday night." But when
yeah,
you talk about bodybuilding, which is kind of weird to some people, and you want to be the best fucking shape you've ever been, you've almost got to explain yourself, which is kind of unusual. But again, this is the price
every
that we
time as
pay
well.
in order to be very good. Yes, they
Yeah,
can't get that you need to look absolutely fucking amazing for 4 hours on a Sunday afternoon,
yeah,
prejudging and judging. They can't get their heads around it, and you don't want to sit there and explain it to them. So it's kind of strange. At the same time, I've also seen that they will make allowances. People will say, "Oh, listen, Madcap's coming. Stick some of that plain stuff to one side. We can do that." And then
yeah.
you're amazed at the support. Your wife, as you said earlier on, and you said on a previous show, it's one of the things that's kind of what makes a top bodybuilder, Steve, is you aren't the only person that's involved in this. And if you can have a good supportive network of training coach, as Madcap has done, training partner, gym owner, your wife, your partner, your girlfriend, your whatever, and even stupid stuff like deals with the local shops and the people that are going to tan you and all that kind of stuff. And the next thing you know, this is exactly what it's like being a top bodybuilder. And you can be surprised. And what's really cool, Steve, is then it becomes a group effort and they're as happy for you as well. Talk a little bit about, and especially the last few weeks, Madcap, how fucking hard it is training when you're depleted, etc., which most people won't get their heads around again for being a top bodybuilder. So as you're approaching competition, how hard is it to do your cardio? How hard is it to get through your training when you're hungry, when you're depleted?
Oh, I mean, in those last 2 3 weeks, getting out of off the sofa's hard. Walking to the kitchen's hard. Everything you have to do that requires any sort of bit of energy is tough. And you're at that point where you may have to do 16, 17, 18,000, even 20,000 steps a day at that point. Plus your training, plus your cardio, and you've just got to put
Yeah,
one foot in front of the other and just make
yeah,
it happen. Because if you stop, that's you're not gonna carry on. And there's been times, maybe not so much my last prep, but the previous one where I can recall a time that I was 2 weeks out. I went to a football or soccer match with my dad, and I
yeah.
dropped him in the car, dropped him where he needed to go, parked up behind where I live, and it was a very short 2 minute walk from my car to my flat. But I contemplated sleeping in the car that night because I was that tired. I didn't want to
Yeah,
get out of the car,
yeah.
and things like that. And then it's tough, but then you just got to think times like this, the person who I'm going to be competing against,
Yes.
they've got the same. Like this problem isn't unique to me. They're going to
No,
have the same, and you know what? They're probably getting up and doing it. So suck it up, get up and do it, and
that's it.
remember as well, it's a privilege to be able to do these things with your body,
Yeah,
and like whilst we moan about it and we hate it, and it's you feel like
But
death and whatever.
we chose to be there. This is our
Yeah,
fucking choice.
it's a choice
And
you
I
made,
choose
and
to
it's
be on
pretty
stage
cool that
looking my absolute best. Yeah.
yes. So, and I mean, if it's your job, it's even cooler than the
Yeah.
fact that your job is getting your body to the best shape it is,
I'm
and you
thinking of
can
you as
look
your
at
wrestler.
yourself
Can
in
you
the
imagine,
mirror.
as you said earlier on, Madcap, Tesslin, turning up late for a wrestling event, turning up out of shape, telling them that you
Yep,
can't do the thing that they want you to do, what they're paying you for, because I don't
yep.
fucking feel like it, or my elbow aches. You literally said on one show that we did with you before, you have literally done a match when stuff was half broken, was, you know, you'd injured your elbow,
Yep.
you'd injured your knee, you'd injured your shoulder, and you still
Had my
fucking
thumb was
carried on
hanging
with the
off.
training. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Talk a little bit about that
because
as well. What
yeah,
the
because it's
mindset
a
that you
different
need, the
mindset.
mindset you needed for that.
Yeah, so again, it's similar to bodybuilding, but with the wrestling thing, people have come to see me. They paid money.
Yes.
They've worked. A ticket for a wrestling show may cost up to £50 or something. So, you know, that could be half a day's work for someone. They paid their money to come and
Yeah. Yeah.
see. Not just me, but I'm a percentage of that. I'm a part of that. So they come to see me, and it's unacceptable in my eyes anyway to not give them the show that they want.
Yes.
And there's obviously things that, because different people, different body sizes, whatever, things I can't do in the wrestling ring, but I'm not going to try. But the things I can do, I know what I'm good at, and I know what people want,
Yeah.
what they're paying for when they want to come and see me. So I have to give them that. And if I don't give them that, they're being shortchanged and they're not going to come back.
Mm.
So in the example I spoke about on the last podcast where I got injured, and to be fair, anytime I've been injured in a wrestling ring, I have finished the match.
Yeah.
Because I want to give the fans what they came to see, and I know I'm hurt. And to be fair, adrenaline can carry you a long way in
Yes.
masking the fact that you're hurt. But you know when you're hurt, when I dislocated my thumb in the ring, you feel that immediate rush of, it's like you feel like a rush of blood to the area or
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
feel like
Yeah. Like almost shock. Yeah.
yeah, you feel the pain, you feel the throbbing, and you're like, well, this definitely isn't right. But I have to finish what I'm doing. I have to give the crowd what they're paid for, and I'll deal with whatever comes afterwards after the match. And that's just where preparation meets the end product and the end show and the end
What's one of the
performance.
things, to interrupt, sorry, mate, one of the things we've
And no
seen with
worries.
some professional bodybuilders, Steve, is guest posing when they've turned up fat or they've turned up with
Yep.
their bellies hanging there, and they're getting $5,000, $10,000, or for a posing exhibition at a gym or something like this, a seminar.
Yep.
And you think, who the fuck is this fat cunt? Because that's not what I see in the magazines. Now, you can't stay in shape, stage shape all year round, but being part of a pro is literally, as Madcap says, he's being paid to be there. He's had his flights paid for, his hotel paid for, his food paid for, he's going to have some money in his pocket. And the idea
Yep.
that he stopped because his thumb's dislocated isn't being a professional. It's not being a top athlete. So there's that kind of stuff. I want to touch a little bit, and because you've competed, you will have some insight into this as well. The genetics includes our ability to absorb food from good food diets, our ability, including our ability to absorb and handle the side effects of PEDs, of steroids, which we're going to talk about, and obviously our genetics for training. Now, I've had this, and you probably had this as well. When we start the sport that we choose to be in, bodybuilding competition for you as well as wrestling, and myself for the competitions that I've done and for the strength stuff that I do, and even Steve for what he's done, we have zero idea really what our genetic ability is going to be like. So what a lot of people talk about is that, oh, the pros have got great genetics. This is true. But we also, and this is where you listeners can benefit, I had zero idea that I would end up being the grip champion. I guarantee you, apart from him wanting to be a wrestler, Madcap didn't know whether or not he's going to end up as a professional wrestler. Not really. He might have thought about it. He might have wanted to do it, but it's still only 1 in 100 or 1 in 1,000 that's actually being paid to do this stuff. And the same thing with bodybuilding. You have no idea until you get all that fat off and you get into your posing trunks and you do the prep, what you're going to look like as a competing bodybuilder. So talk a little bit about your genetics for the sports that you've chosen to try to compete in or get paid for as you do.
Yeah, I mean, I would probably say I have terrible genetics for definitely for bodybuilding. Um, I have I come from a Caribbean background. We love our food. The majority
Yep.
of the people in my family, for want of a better phrase, are overweight, out of
Yep.
shape, don't exercise, and what have you. So I naturally have a propensity to put on fat.
Yep.
If It doesn't matter if I'm in the gym training hard or whatever, I can still very easily put on fat. It's something that I'm very mindful of and very careful. I can get big, I can be big as a house, but
Mm.
in terms of bodybuilding and genetics, that big of a house is not pretty. So it's one thing that I have to bear in mind and pay extra attention to when it comes to dieting and even
Yes.
supplementation and the PEDs and
Yes.
stuff, because I know how my body reacts to food, essentially, but also as well the PEDs. Like I know, um, and we spoke about how I respond best to low dosages, which is
Yes.
I think
Yes.
one great genetic thing that I have, which I'm very blessed for. But I also know high test is not for me
Yep.
because I will aromatize easily. Um, and you know,
You're fighting against your Jamaican genetics, but you're also
yes,
you're as an example. This is for the benefit of the listeners again, and I'm only echoing sentiments that you've already mentioned yourself. I think that your upper body is great, but you said, for example, you have great separation, but you wish your legs was bigger. So we have
yes,
the take advantage as an athlete, as a top pro bodybuilder, of the genetics you do have. An obvious example
yes,
with Tom Platts's quads versus, for example, say Dorian Yates's back. And
yep,
I say upper body, you have a perfectly fine muscular upper body, but you fight for every inch of quad. And at the same time, as Madcap just said, he has to fight against his genetics for putting on body fat. He would have to.
yep,
He knows his body. So, for example, like you said, this applies to top bodybuilders, knowing how you respond to certain doses and certain PEDs is part of the process that's allowing you to compete as a top bodybuilder or allowing you to wrestle and travel across to different countries to look like a wrestler, to look like a muscular wrestler, and so on and so forth. So yeah, take
yeah,
awareness of
100%.
your
You.
genetics. Yeah.
So I was gonna say you hit the nail right on the head there, Mo. So in terms of when it comes to bodybuilding, and the trial and error that I've done in my first few shows,
Yep.
myself and my coach realized my best strength in terms of on stage is my condition.
Mm-hmm.
So no one
Absolutely.
has the quad detail I have on stage
No.
in some in
No.
the shows I've
No.
done,
No.
and that's come from trial and error. And we got to a point where we realized, okay, you don't have the biggest legs, and whilst we can work on growing them in the off season, and I have managed to grow them in the period of time I
Yes.
have been bodybuilding, but when it comes down to being on stage, it's getting to that condition, getting to the point where I have the crazy quad detail that I do have. Um, I have a decent upper body, but it's the legs that let me down in size. But I know what I lack in size, I make up for in conditioning. And every show I've done, the feedback has always been my conditioning is incredible. Um, and that's what I've always focused on in terms of getting on stage. Um, it's not won me, it's not won me every show. There's been guys that come in bigger, might not have been as conditioned as me, but they come in bigger. And essentially, sometimes being bigger overpowers everything else because it's bodybuilding.
Let me ask you another question, and this is probably
Yeah, so let's get into. I think we lost Mobster for a second here. Mobster, you still there? But let me ask you this about when it comes to knowing which steroids you like and which steroids you don't, Madcap.
Yeah,
And we talk about, I think experience is crucial because trial and errors is crucial and learning from experiences. Touch on that, knowing how you can figure out what was you hit the nail on the head. You're like, well, I don't react good to high testosterone. Maybe another bodybuilder reacts good to high testosterone. So understanding which
yeah,
steroids work for you and which don't, understanding, you know, working with a coach who also is able to adjust like that on the fly in case something goes wrong, etc. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so again, it is trial and error. Unfortunately, there's no you just look at a bottle and you know that's going to work well. I mean, you've got to try things and get to a point. Um, and we spoke about on the last podcast, that, I don't like to do high dosages, and the highest I've been on testosterone for a cycle was 600 meg, and that was on a mass gaining phase. And whilst I was able to put on a decent amount of size, there was a degree of aromatization. I didn't hold a bit of water, and then for me, that was like, right, okay, next time don't do that. Stay low, maybe make up some of the I guess the androgenic load with a DHT or something a bit milder. That something's going to make your test work better.
Hmm.
But just knowing that, and then you know, putting putting your cycles together and being flexible and changing them as they go on based on what you're seeing, and knowing that you actually, for me anyway, I didn't need to go up to crazy high dosages. I didn't need to go much over a gram in total in terms of androgens because I'm getting the results that I want to get from it. And
Yeah.
that's that. And I'm very meticulous and probably even anal in that I have logged everything I've done in the competition prep
Yes.
wise.
Yes.
So I have a document that I update daily. This is very, very sad for me, but I put in so what my current cycle is
Yep.
and the date what that equates to in terms of a daily dosage. When I pull something out,
Yeah.
then I will note that on the cycle. I've got my body weight, I've got the
Yeah.
calorie intake, the macros I've taken in for that day.
I was going to use the word details. So you're literally
Yeah,
saying you look at every single detail. I was even thinking
yeah,
about some blokes get their hair cut, women will get their hair done, they get their nails done, their exfoliators are essentials now. Silly things like having clean toenails because you're literally upstairs. Women will spend hundreds of pounds in the UK. What did
yeah.
you spend, for example? And it sounds a silly question. How much was your fucking postage drugs? I bet it's going to be a silly thing like they're going to be like 80 quid for something that barely covers your bollocks. And yet it's
Yes.
important to look right. Not here's an example. And you probably had to do this. You have more than one pair of posing trunks because you might get
Yes.
protein on them. And what I've also seen, this is a silly thing that people don't think about, putting tissue down inside the pants from the top around the waist and also up around the thigh and the bum just so the tan doesn't stain the posing trunk. So you look professional, you look like a top bodybuilder. And then just
Yep.
before you go out of stage, you put all that crap off, you get your last layer of oil and you go out. And it's literally the detail in your log, the detail of knowing every
Yep.
nuance of your diet and so on and so forth. And also specifically things like clean fingernails, trimming your beard, and just looking like a top bodybuilder when you come out on stage. Great
Yep.
example, and I don't think he should
Presentation
have
is really
won. But
important.
Derek Lunsford probably had the quote unquote best presentation. He had his
Yep.
beard shaved a few days before. He had his hair done a couple of days before, and someone was doing his fingernails when he was having his hair done. He was having one of those wet shaves, and you go, "Was that a big deal because he's a top?" No, no, no. It fucking matters because the other guy might do that, and he might have the identical physique to you, and you looking the best. One more
Yep.
nuance, and you might have this as well. Stage confidence. Talk about for the benefit of the listeners, what it's like being on stage, especially that first time under the fucking lights.
Yeah, and I think I'll touch upon the presentation bit first, but it's everything's important. So with my trunks, like you mentioned, I have two pairs of trunks, one for the show, one for my check-ins, and for my spray tan. And that the second pair that I wear all the time is black. So when I go and get a tan, it's not ruined by the tan. My show trunks are blue because it's my
Yep,
favorite color,
yep,
and I only put those on when, well, on a show day anyway. Once when my tan's on and dried, and I
yep,
was just when I know it's dried, I'll switch into those trunks and I'm good to go. Things like I get a haircut before a show, cut my
yes,
nails, shave,
yep,
shave my facial hair and my whole body hair,
yep. Get the teeth
exfoliate my
polished.
skin.
Yep,
Yep,
yep.
teeth whitened, teeth, everything.
Mm-hmm,
And to be fair, as I say this, I do the same things when I'm wrestling. So
mm-hmm.
um, I spend a lot of money on my wrestling gear,
Yep,
so it looks good. I will
yep,
tan, I will shave, shave my body hair, shave my facial hair, get a haircut again. In a bodybuilding context, it's because I want everyone's eyes to be on me.
Yes.
I want to look the best I can. I want to smile. I want to look like I'm enjoying it and I'm happy to be there. Because if you look $1 million, not just in your body, but if you look $1 million anyway, people can be like, they're going to look to you. It's just natural. And you touch upon this last Olympia. I'll ask you, whose eyes, not the winner, but whose eyes were you on the whole time?
Oh,
All three.
oh God, I forgot his bloody name. The big black fella.
Andrew Jacks.
God. Yes, Andrew Jacks. Andrew Jacks. And
Yeah,
I said,
same.
why? Because
Absolutely same.
he looked absolutely like he wanted to fucking be there for a change and determined and to bring his own game, which you haven't actually seen for the last 2, 3 competitions. It's almost, I've got a great physique, have a look at this. And today, for this Olympia, you look like, have a fucking look at this. I mean to be here. I deserve to be here. I am top 3. You are going to look at me because I am top 3. He literally frowned a couple of times. He actually had that kind of determined look on his face. And that's what drew my eye, more even than his physique.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's just, I mean, it's slightly different with where Chris Bumstead, because he is Chris Bumstead, but he always had this, you were always drawn to him.
Yes.
His confidence. Obviously, he's a good-looking guy, but he's in incredible shape. He's well groomed.
He looked like he knew he was the winner. He looked like he knew he was the winner. Andrew looked like, I deserved the fucking beer. At last, I deserved the beer. Yeah.
Yeah, and when Andrew wins it, because I think he will win it one day. When he wins it, he's going to step on stage and he's going to be like, "Guys, I'm here again. Look at me."
Yeah.
He's got that confidence in his look.
Let me ask you a question now, right? If you were talking to someone that's going to come into the sport, they've got decent genetics, they've started training, and they'd say to you, Madcap, what do you do that I can do? So, for example, you mentioned earlier on about weighing your food. Talk about the habits that you think made you a good competitive bodybuilder, and those habits that listeners can mirror so that they can do some of the things that you've done, and then everything else comes to our the grinders. So talk about some of your habits that you could pass on to them.
Yeah, so first one you mentioned, weighing and measuring your food, so you know exactly what you put into your body on that day, and logging that as well. You can log that you don't have to use apps or anything. I use an app to do it because I can go back and look at the data, but you can put it in a diary, in a journal, on an online journal. You can go on the forums and start a journal and a log and put it in there. Just having collecting information on what you've done to achieve the look you have, and to keep that updated constantly. It doesn't take long. For some people, it's annoying. Like, I've coached people in the past. I'm like, oh, I don't want to log my food. I don't want to weigh my food. I'm like, well, you don't want to improve your physique. If you can't take the time, it takes 2 to 5 minutes to log what you're going to eat that day and have the macros and everything calculated for you. You don't have 2 minutes to do that. You can't find 2 minutes to do that. I do mine when I'm on the toilet. I do mine when I'm on the train to work, or if I'm on the treadmill or whatever. It takes 2 minutes. If you can't do that, you don't have what it takes.
Yep.
Then it goes to things like keeping. We mentioned this on the last podcast. I don't have anything in my home, food-wise, that's off my plan.
Perfect.
Because if it's there, if it's not there, I can't eat it.
Yeah.
And if I mean, I'm in my off season now, so I'm allowing myself the odd treat or whatever, because it's a little bit of mental break.
Let me ask you one question, Madcap. So, for example, when you know that you're prepping for a competition, is there a sort of added impetus when you go to the gym? You're all business, and what I mean is, I've just come from the gym this morning. Am I fucking around? Am I bullshitting? Absolutely. Am I training? Yes. And it's kind of serious. But if I was in competition mode, I'd be all business in the gym. So talk about that as well.
Yeah, I'm probably not. Well, I'm a bit better at this now, but when I'm on prep, I do not talk to anyone. I'm not being deliberately rude, but I'll go in, headphones in, and I will just follow what I need to do, get in, get out. I'm not one of the people who will go in and I'll go in and say hi to people, hello, you're whatever, and walk off. I won't stop to entertain the conversation. I won't stop to be like, oh, what you training today? I'm training this, blah 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 blah. This that, and then you become old. got to feel
Yeah.
like old wives and stuff. Where
Yeah.
I see
I
people
see.
when I go in on the treadmill, and I'm on the treadmill for half an hour, and they haven't lifted a thing.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
just
I
come
see
in
that all
and
the
start
time,
talking to people.
dude. I'm like, I go into the gym, I see people talking, and then I'm done with my workout like after 45 minutes, and I'm
Yes,
leaving, and they're still sitting there
Yeah.
talking with
Yes.
their bags in their
yeah,
Yes.
hands. It's just
Yeah.
like,
yeah,
wow. That's why, yeah, it's so important not to get into too social with people at the gym. Be like you said,
yeah,
friendly, hi, whatever, but you don't want to like sit there every time I have to have a 10, 15-minute conversation. Otherwise,
no,
it's like you're wasting your time. So I
It's
like it.
perfect in a way, Steve. It's kind of fine, but not if you want to be a top professional
No,
athlete, not if you want to be a
yeah,
top bodybuilder.
it's a
You've
waste.
got
Yeah,
to be your time in the gym is an investment in what you're trying to
exactly. Yeah,
achieve.
excellent.
My
and I think at that
a
point
good
as
old
well, I'm so
headphones up. Yeah,
hungry.
yeah.
I'm so hungry at that point. I want my
Oh
post
yeah, you're not
workout
going
meal
to be
anyway.
fatty anyway.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I'm not talking to someone if there's food waiting for me at home. There's no way.
Perfect.
I'm
So let's get
in and
into
out.
yeah. So let's get into
Yeah.
Euro Pharma steroids that you
Yes.
need to use
Yes.
if you're going to turn pro.
Yes,
Obviously, as Madcap said earlier, the person next to you is, busting his ass just like you have to bust your ass, but they're also the person next to you is also using steroids, so you've got to use
yes,
steroids. So it is what it is.
yes.
So look, at the end of the day, let me start this off. I'm gonna give Madcap the floor to go over some steroid ideas that are important. But let me just start with this. The flexibility of using Europharma is really nice. They have lots of different options. They have the ancillaries, they have the esters to allow a bodybuilder to be able to run a shorter cycle, longer cycle, take a longer cycle, turn it into a short cycle, or vice versa. They have orals that allow you to kickstart your cycle, to finish your cycle going into a competition, so you're peaking. So, with that said, Madcap, what are some of your favorite Europharma steroids and cycles that you have used successfully going into a competition?
Yeah. So and we spoke about this. I think it's probably off camera or stuff. But anyway, my favorite ever steroid cycle that I've done independently. So that's not with a coach, where I've been working towards a certain goal, and I thought I'm going to run this to get to this goal. Was actually a Europharmacy's cycle. It was their Test E product and their Trent E. While I was wrestling and doing powerlifting, I ran this cycle. And I'll go back to this is very specific to me, but it shows that their products work and they do what they say they do. As mentioned, I'm a low dose guy. I ran this cycle was 1 mil a week of their Test E product, so that's 250 meg. 1 mil, so half a mil of their Trent E product, which I believe equates to, you might have to correct me on this, but 100 meg. That's
Yeah,
correct.
that would be correct because it's 200 milligrams a milliliter. So you're doing
Yes.
100 meg
Yeah.
how many times a
I
week?
can make trade. Yeah, 100, so once a week. That's all I did. I ran
Wow.
that one cycle.
Wow.
Is
Okay.
low, purely because I was competing in a body weight class. So I didn't want the water weight. I didn't want I didn't want to put on too much size. What I wanted was to come down in my weight and to hold as much muscle and strength as possible. And what actually happened was I recomped looked completely different from start to finish. I looked bigger. I wasn't bigger, but I looked bigger because I held and grew muscle on this recon cycle. My strength improved. I looked the best I'd ever looked in terms of wrestling. I was able to do cardio. I was able to lift properly. I wasn't struggling with side effects or anything. It just felt like a great cycle. And
Yeah.
even the point, my diet back then wasn't really on point. But
That's all you
um,
needed.
yeah, the,
Yeah.
the work that I was
Because you
doing
kept
in
you
terms
kept
of
things. It's
training
like
and
it's like you kept things organized and structured and
yes,
flexible,
yes,
so where you didn't have to obsess over side effects and other stuff. So it
yeah.
worked out beautifully for you. Do the other end of the spectrum, and then we'll talk a little bit more. What is the biggest cycle that you've done going into a competition, and how did that work?
I'd say the biggest I've done going into competition, probably my first ever bodybuilding competition. I was on, and this is, I have to make sure I remember this correctly, but I was on 450 mega test a week, 800 meg of Masteron a week, 600 meg of Primo a week, 200 meg of Tren E a week, and then in the days running up to the show, I was on 50 meg of Anavar pre-workout. and 50 meg of Winstrol. That's the last few weeks going to the show. That's the heaviest cycle I've ever done.
How'd you do on that?
Um,
Did you enjoy it? Was it too rough with the sides?
no sides. What the only thing I didn't enjoy about it was the pinning frequency. Um, Having to inject, and I don't mind injecting daily if I need to, if it's can fit into an insulin pin. But if it's big, big needles, big 2 mil syringes
Mhm.
that you have to do regularly, or in some cases even a 3 mil that you're doing maybe 3 times a week or whatever,
So how'd you
it's not
do?
fun.
How'd you do overall? Did you go in really? How was that? How did that cycle turn out for you? Did you grow your physique huge? Did you cut down on that? How did that cycle end
I
up?
cut down on that.
It was a big cutter.
Definitely
Okay.
big cutting cycle, yes, because I've gone from this is my first ever
Yeah.
bodybuilding show. So
So how much did
this
you
particular
cut? Do you remember?
cycle,
Do you remember your body fat or body weight changes on that?
yeah, my body weight went from I think it was about 104 kilos out to 85 kilos on that prep. So I lost nearly
Wow.
20 kilos of body weight.
Holy moly. Wow. That
But
is
for
big.
that particular prep, I needed to do that because I'd
Yeah.
never been to that depth of being lean and got to those lengths to get lean.
Okay.
Obviously, before then, if you're a gym goer, you get a little bit of a six pack. You think, oh, I'm great, I'm lean. That's that the level I had
Yeah.
to get on stage was
Do you,
another 10 kilos more than that.
do you
So
remember how long that
Yes.
cycle was? How long was it?
it was a 20-week prep. Now, I
Okay.
want to bear in mind, I wasn't at those doses for the whole length of the prep.
Okay.
No.
We started off low and then
Okay.
titrated upwards, and then
So in
we
20
added things in and took
weeks,
things out.
but my point is in 20 weeks, you lost 20 kilograms. So it was 1 kilogram a
Yes,
week.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So that, wow. Did you expect to do that? Or was that
No,
like
but
something?
it's like when you get to a point where
Yeah.
you're when you're putting your weight down and you look at yourself, you do your check-ins every week, and you're like,
Yeah.
right, okay, I'm, for example, say I'm 90 kilos. I must be there now. And then you look at your back and you're like, no,
Yeah.
there's
So
some still fat to go at the back, and you have to keep pulling.
So what happened during the cycle? Did you lose the bulk of that the first 10 weeks, first 5 weeks, or did it just like, was it consistent 1 kilogram a week, 1 kilogram a week the whole way? Or was it more toward the beginning or toward the end? Do you
I
remember?
say it's more towards the beginning because you have well, actually, I say the beginning and the end because the beginning you
Yeah.
have the initial loss of
Water.
glycogen
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
water weight and stuff. So you lose your first couple of weeks, you lose quite a bit. You think, oh wow, this is easy, and then it slows down, and then yeah, it slows down, and you're lucky
If
to get a kilo a
only.
week at that point.
Okay. So let me ask you this. I'll
Yeah.
bring in Mobster to ask some questions or give his thoughts. But would you say, based on both of these examples, would you say trenbolone is a necessary evil when you're competing? So anyone aspiring out there, do you think it's really necessary to use tren, or do you think you can get away without it?
Um, that's a tough one because I have used tren in most of my preps.
Yeah.
But as time's gone on, I've realized obviously that I have a less of a need to use tren. So I've used less tren. I switched from tested enanthate to tren enanthates to tren acetate because I can microdose tren acetate, and if I can pull it out quickly, that's why I prefer. And I always say to people on the forums, if they talk about doing tren, you don't need to do it. But if you do want to do it, do a small amount
Yes.
of tren ace because if you
Yes.
don't agree with it, it's not going to
Quicker and
sit in your
quicker.
body for
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
weeks, messing up your mess up your life. It's
Yeah.
in and
Yeah.
out. So tren ace, you pull it out and it's gone.
Yeah. What was the
So
what was
that's my
so what was the most tren you've ever used per week?
200 meg.
And then what was specifically you said messing up? What was the worst things mentally, physically that you were dealing with tren that you hated?
So I never got anything too bad. Obviously I felt it, definitely felt it. I knew I was taking it, and I knew my
Yeah. Yeah.
my stuff was legit. I would just get annoyed with things very easily. I'm a very mild-mannered person, but things don't bother me too much. But things like if I'm with someone and they're breathing heavily, I have to leave. I have to leave.
Steve, I'm quite mild mannered, but if someone was breathing loud, I'm gonna fuck them up.
Yeah, basically, that's how I felt on it, and things like
Yeah, I can
if
imagine.
I'm sat with someone and they're chewing loudly, I just have to get up and
Oh
leave the
god.
room because it's irritating.
Yeah.
My wife, bless her, when she's asleep, sometimes she breathes on me when when she's asleep, and I'm awake and all I can feel is
Yeah.
her breathing on me. And I'm like, this is really irritating. I'm going to go and get up and sleep on the sofa
Did
because
you
I
did you notice getting hangry on trend?
yeah,
Or if you
oh
weren't getting
yeah,
food? Okay.
yeah. Trend plus
Food.
a bodybuilding prep is they're not a great combination in terms of anger because yeah, you have the being hangry from
Yeah, the
dieting,
food. Yeah,
but
yeah,
then
yeah,
the
yeah.
trend will just turn it up a few notches and
Yes.
um you don't want to be I don't generally want to be spoken to when I'm on prep because
Okay. So
I'm
any
snappy.
mother, we're gonna cut you loose in a second here, but we really
No
appreciate you
worries,
come
man.
on. But what are your final thoughts on at the end of the day when it comes to cycling steroids specifically and cycling Euro Pharma cycles?
Yes, but
Any
especially, I
final
mean,
tips and
yeah,
tricks?
yeah.
Yeah,
Not
so
only that, very quickly, sorry, man.
no worries,
You've
man.
used your pharmacies, and one of the things I was going to say was, and we'll talk about this, me, Steve, in a minute. You need a good, solid brand or product of stuff that you can trust to use. So, talk about
Yes.
that necessity for you competing and your experience. Your pharma for you was a good, positive experience. Is that right?
Oh God, yeah, 100%. And I think it's even more prevalent now with what we're seeing in the PED game is making sure that you have a legit dose, sorry, a legit source that is giving you the product that you bought and it's giving you the product you bought at the amount they say on the vial or the bottle or the packaging. That's really important. First thing in terms of PEDs, and you can't just blindly trust Big Dave down the gym to give you what he's got in the back of his car, and that's going to work, and that's going to be the right things to do. You need to buy from trusted sources that test their product. First thing. Second thing, make sure whatever cycle you've got planned out that you have everything there to hand, because where we've seen
Yes.
currently, there's been shortages and what have you, and
Yeah.
everyone's been affected by it. But you don't want to get to a point where you're, I don't know, 8 weeks into a
Hunting
cycle and you
around
run
or
out of
something.
tests.
Yeah, you don't want to.
And
Yeah.
then yeah, and then you got and then you're scrambling to find any vial of test, and
Yes.
and then you find one that's not the brand you've been using. It might not be the same
Yes.
purity. It might not
Yes.
be the same concentration. Might not even be the same actual product.
Oil. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can be
Yeah.
thinking getting test D and you're getting test pro or whatever,
Yeah.
or cooking oil. But you want to make sure that you have everything up front. And that includes not just your steroids, but if you're doing a PCT, having that to hand.
Yes. And ancillaries. Yeah.
If you don't know whether you're going to aromatize, if you have aromacin or Arimidex,
Yes.
or even
Yes.
if you're prone to getting gyno, you have Novadex in hand. You need to make sure you have everything up front before you start. Um,
Absolutely.
Start low and assess how things are working for you. Change the doses, titrate up or down, however from what you're seeing on your physique and how you feel. And if you're new to this, you don't need to go and do 2, 3, 4 compounds on your first cycle. Just stick with
No.
tests and see how you get on with that. And then if your second cycle, stick with tests again, because if the first one's worked, the second one's going to work.
Yes. Yes.
And then you can look to your third, fourth, fifth cycle to add in a compound and see how you get with that. And then later on down the line, you have to kind of earn your stripes with these things these days. You
Some
can't just
users, Madcap, almost want to change every cycle, and I say, if what you used before worked, why do you need to change it? Just do what you did again until it stops working.
exactly
Then we change it. So it doesn't need to be
100%.
overly complicated. We don't need to do what pros are doing or what we think pros are doing. We do what works for us. And again, a source like Euro Pharmacies, where we know what we're getting, we know the quality, we know the purity, is it super, super important. And again, you're going to be working with your coach to make sure whether you're going to tweak the dosages. I used to be stuck on being rigid with certain particular things, but now we've talked about on shows being flexible, working with your coach, making sure that you bring the best result, like a top bodybuilder, to the stage on the fucking day that you need to, using a solid ass brand like Euro Pharmacy to do so, Steve.
Yep. And there's one thing I want to add to that as well.
Sure.
Sorry. The most well, I'll say one of the most important things a part of doing this and being in the Zero game is take your ancillary supplements, your protective supplements going to protect your organs and your health, and get blood work. Get blood work done before you start the cycle, mid cycle, and at the end of the cycle.
Yes.
So you know what is impact. And I think that goes hand in hand with learning your body and understanding what things do to you, is knowing what compounds do to your blood work.
Beautiful. So
It's literally a proper picture of what's going on. It's not even based on how you feel or how you look. You're literally seeing in black and white exactly what's going on chemically in your body.
So if you guys want to learn more about Madcap or learn more about his tips and tricks, come on evolutionary.org forums. You can search for him, Madcap71, correct? Top right.
That's correct. Yep.
You can search for him and you can look up his posts, look up his threads. He has excellent logs going on this stuff. And you can really, he has awesome pictures of his wrestling. He has awesome pictures of his competitions up. And you can always keep track of him. So Madcap, again, thank you so much for coming on. Hopefully we'll have you on soon again.
If people don't get sick of me, but it's been a pleasure talking to you both. Really
There's so much.
You
have a lot of knowledge to share for sure. All right, buddy, take care. We'll talk to you later.
Thank you very much.
Take care. Thanks, guys.
Ta-da. I mean, I'll start this off, Steve. Listen, the reason why we talk about Euro Pharmacies on these kind of shows, the reason why we have Madcap on, to literally give you experience of someone that's used their products, got into great shape, competes, and gets paid as a professional wrestler, is that you want quality products, you want quality sources, you need something, especially if you're going to echo the habits of a top bodybuilder, that you know works, that you know is good to go, that you know has been tested. I use the phrase tried, tested, and trusted. Tested is literally lab tests, quality stuff. The idea that you can go onto the forums, like I've said on other shows, look for Euro Pharmacies, look for the suppliers of Euro Pharmacies in the search engine, and find people like Madcap's log, or my log, or Steve's log, where you can see when we've run Euro Pharmacies products, and you can see the results. Literal practical experience by athletes using their products. Like Steve said, going onto the log, seeing pictures of Madcap wrestling, literally jumping from the ropes in Italy, Steve, being paid to be there as a professional, and knowing that the products that he uses are absolutely solid. Talk a little bit about your own personal experience and the reasons why you've used Euro Pharmacy, Steve.
Yeah, and what do you need from a brand? You need good customer service, because something can happen. You never know where you need to reach out to them. You need someone to reach back out to you, right? Just like anything else in life, you need good customer service. Bad customer service, I'm not gonna, if I go to a shop and I buy something and I want to return it and they gave me shit, that's bad customer service. So I go in there and I have a question and they act like they're doing me a favor, that's bad customer service. So I want good customer service. I want a place that if I have a question or a concern, I can reach out to them and they'll get back to me quickly. I want a place that treats their customers number one. I want a place that has high quality products. I want a place that has fast shipping. And shipping, isn't always going to be the way we want it. This isn't Amazon where it's next day prime shipping or even same day delivery. These are, you're ordering these things in the mail and you want it to get to you in a timely manner, but you also want it to get to you in a safe manner, in a discreet manner. So that's important to me. And then quality, as Madcap talked about earlier in the show. If you're going to do all this shit to do a competition, why the fuck would you want to take something where you're not even sure if it's legitimate? We had a guy the other day post on the forum. He's like, oh, I got this brand. I found out it's an underground lab. Some guy makes it out of his trailer. I said, why the hell would you want to put that on your body? You want to make sure you're taking care of yourself and putting only high quality stuff in your body. Don't ever put anything less than fantastic stuff in your body. So Euro Pharma.
It takes years, decades, Steve, to build up your reputation. When, like you just said, the idea of a brand I've never heard of by a person who's made it I've never heard of out of a fucking trailer versus, and we've seen photographs ourselves, Steve, and videos of the facilities and products and machines that they've used to make their products. Euro Pharmacies have been around for over 20 years. That's 2 fucking decades. And in this business, using the products that we're talking about, building up your reputation for 2 decades to get to the point where you are recognized as a solid brand, that you are recognized world fucking wide on multiple forums, by hundreds, if not thousands, in fact, literally thousands of athletes. On our forums alone, Steve, we've got two athletes. So the husband and wife powerlifting couple, Royd Rage, Mr. Royd Rage and Mrs. Royd Rage. Royd Rage 69 is the man and Royd Rage wife would be the woman. And the last time they competed in powerlifting, both got national, state, I think it was state and national records in powerlifting, being sponsored and supported by and using Euro Pharmacy products. Just as an example, my best gains ever, Steve, the biggest, the heaviest, almost the strongest I've ever been was on Euro Pharmacy's products. Steve's got experience with Euro Pharmacy's products. And we do this because I literally describe them as my go-to. I have tried and tested other products from other brands. Some of them have been absolutely great, but my daily go-to is Euro Pharmacy's for that kind of reason. I know that I'm getting what I paid for. I know what I'm getting in terms of cleanliness. I know that then when there's been literally, I'm talking about 8 or 9 years now, personal experience, I think in all that time, I've had two issues that were resolved within days. I've talked about on one more show, just to finish, listeners, about how they subcontracted the work out for one product and it ended up being substandard. And they tested the product, saw that it was substandard, and they literally fixed that company's issue. I think it was from the Friday they discovered it, and by Monday, every single person that had purchased that product in the last couple of weeks had a credit note or reorder or stuff was sent out to replace what they got, because they realized that they fucked up and they made sure that everybody was sorted, and they made sure to pull that stuff off the shelf, and they made sure never to use that subcontractor again. That is like 96 hours, Steve, from recognizing there was an issue to fixing every single aspect of an issue. And that's the reasons why you stick with a company like Euro Pharmacies. Thank you very much. As always, please note, we are not doctors and opinions are ours. It is our view based on our experience and views on the topic. A podcast of informational purposes and entertainment only. The freedom of speech and the First Amendment applies.